Hello, my name's Ben,
My name's Josh.
and welcome back to FPL Graduates, and welcome back to another video where today we're going to be ranking ahead of Game Week 16 the best defenders to be looking to get on FPL, as well as some of those we think you should avoid as well. Let's get straight into it.
Okay, then, so we're going to hop into the red tier at the moment. So, to be honest, I'd probably avoid every single player in this list, but to quickly brush over it, Ipswich, if you've got a £4 million Ipswich defender, they're probably the worst set at the moment with the fixtures that Ipswich have coming up. So, something to bear in mind, maybe if you're wildcarding, I think Leicester tend to have the best run, plus obviously Ruud van Nistelrooy's in charge now, as you could argue. Probably in the best form as well out of those sides. Same with Harwood Bellis. Southampton's not as bad as Ipswich, but for me, I think I'd definitely go for the Leicester ones. Mikolenko, obviously, 11-point haul for me last week in that midweek game week. But yeah, the fixtures now for Everton are poor. Everton defensively are a good defence. But for me, with those fixtures, I just don't see much clean sheets. And the attacking threat, despite Mikolenko getting an assist in that game, is really minimal. He got it from like a blocked shot rather than actually creating any sort of goal scoring opportunities. Brentford defence have been really poor all season long, so I wouldn't really be backing them too much. And Anthony Robertson is in the red tier, but that is mainly due to the fixtures for Fulham rather than his ability. I think overall he's been a decent player this season, but FPL-wise, Ben, not really cutting the mustard, right?
Yeah, no, not too many sort of like really in this list that you'd be looking at, and it's mainly down to fixtures rather than the form of the guys. Like when you're looking at this price point, and these guys do run around that sort of £4 to £4.5 million price point, you want to make sure that you got the fixtures, and that's the primary key here with buying defenders, because you are going to sort of catch one or two clean sheets. And you know, we've seen it over the last few weeks where clean sheets have been very minimal. So you're going to want to maximize your opportunity to get clean sheets. And none of these guys I expect to get any clean sheets over the next 2 or 3 game weeks. Okay, so moving on into the orange tier. These guys are just a step up from the red tier. We think that a lot of these FPL managers will be having these players already. So there's considerations on whether you should drop them, etc. First off, we'll go to Diogo Dalot. Obviously, Manchester United are moving into a new system, and it's a difficult one for the defence at the moment because they're not going to get it right under Amorim. He's working out his best 11. There's obviously going to be a lot of rotation risk with Dalot. So, yeah, definitely one to, monitor if you own and potentially looking at selling, because it's a bit of funds to sort of have up there stored, and, there could be the potential there to transfer out. Munoz and Gay will sort of put together almost in a sense, because Palace's fixtures aren't the best going forwards. I think that's fair to say in terms of their next sort of few fixtures coming up. Yeah, in terms of their next few fixtures coming up, in the next 3, they face Brighton away, Arsenal at home, Bournemouth away. I don't anticipate a clean sheet in any of them. And obviously for the price point of 4.5 and 4.7 for Munoz and Gahey, you're probably going to look at getting a bit of value elsewhere. Like we said before, you're going to want to maximise on getting the clean sheets. And by doing that, you've got to look at the fixtures, and that's crucial at this price point. Once you get a little bit higher in terms of price, you can sort of expect to get some attacking returns. But with these guys, maybe sort of not so much, despite Munoz looking very attacking in recent weeks. Ezri Konsa, I'm going to sort of talk on. He was one of the guys that did keep a clean sheet, but the Aston Villa defence generally over the entire season hasn't been the greatest and has let us down sort of a few times so far this season. And yeah, Connor Cody under new management as well. So I think we'll work out with Ruud van Nistelrooy what his favourite 11 is. The Leicester fixtures aren't too bad going forward, so I think one to monitor there just for the meantime. Just one to sort of consider. Josh, thoughts on the guys in this list?
Yeah, I think you covered it pretty well. I think Connor Cody, like I mentioned on the previous tier, is probably the best £4 million defender at the moment. So obviously played 90 minutes in both games under Ruud van Nistelrooy so far. So if you're wanting to go there, then, go there. But to be honest, I wouldn't be looking to play him many weeks in the future. I think Dallow's the interesting one. Obviously got City this week. After that, United have 2 fairly decent fixtures. But for me, like you mentioned, the rotation risk is quite heavily there. He's played, I think, the last 2 games in a row, which is quite rare for a defender in United system at the moment. Even Mazraoui took a benching at the weekend. So, yeah, for me, I think a benching is probably due with him. Obviously, Munoz back-to-back attack and return, so definitely more attacking threat than someone like Gahey, but the fixtures for Palace, just not anything to be sort of keenly looking at right now. Okay, then so we're going to move into the yellow tier, and these guys are probably more options than anyone else so far. I think a lot of these guys potentially already in teams. So yeah, we're going to talk through most of them. Emerson's up first. I think West Ham defensively are definitely something that isn't great. Emerson does carry some decent open play attacking threat. Obviously, we saw he is on free kicks as well, which is a nice added bonus. But I don't expect him to whip one in the top bins every single week. But yeah, overall, I think if you're looking at that sort of price point of 4.5, I'd be looking towards those, more attacking defenders because, like we've seen in game week 15 so far, we're recording this on Sunday night. Only one clean sheet so far this game week, and it was Aston Villa at home to Southampton. So for me, attacking returns are absolutely paramount. Ola Anya is an interesting one. Nottingham Forest defensively are really, really solid. This is not just Ola Anya in general. It probably could just be down to any Forest defender that you might have. But yeah, the fixtures aren't too bad for Forest. They're okay. I wouldn't be expecting too many clean sheets though. So yeah, it's one of those ones that might be okay to keep on your bench. But for me, I probably wouldn't be looking to start unless you really need to in the coming weeks. Gavardio, this is again similar to most City defenders. City in general defensively have been very, very poor in the last 5 to 7 game weeks. So for me, again, you're going to be trying to look for that attacking threat. We saw Lewis score in game week 15 and then get suspended. Obviously, Gavardio has been almost ushered into that left centre back role at the moment. So for me, doesn't carry as much attacking threat. And obviously, at the moment, going into the derby, City only have 3 fit defenders. So, yeah, it's not looking great back there. Maybe Edison can chip in at centre back or something for them. Porro obviously got the attacking return against Chelsea, but in general, Spurs again, we saw Van der Ven and Romero go off injured. So for me, probably wouldn't be looking at them anytime soon. I think Porro is a little bit too expensive to consider despite the attacking threat. And then Mark Cucurella, arguably one of the best pick on this list at the moment. Chelsea's fixtures are pretty decent. They do seem to just give away chances, though, most games. So, yeah, the attacking threat, again, could be quite there with Cucurella, who seems to pick up the odd assist here and there. What's your thoughts on those lists, and mainly Cucurella, Ben?
Yeah, Cucurella's probably the main talking point. And in terms of the price point that you're looking to pay, I'd almost be more tempted for the same, for sort of like zero point 0.5 less, going to one of the other Chelsea defenders, maybe like Colwell, someone like that, because yes, Cucurella has somewhat of an attacking threat, but in terms of ceiling, I think it's relatively sort of similar to all the other Chelsea defenders there. So yeah, you'd be relying maybe a little bit on clean sheets going forwards, and the fixtures are some of the best in the league for them. Completely agree with the points on Pedro Porro. Guardiol is obviously 6 million. I think at that price point, you're going to want maybe an Arsenal defender in there instead because they're looking somewhat a little bit more solid. Like I said, the Ina pick is one that I don't mind at all. With Forest defensively, one of the best in the league in terms of the statistics so far, albeit they've had a really nice run to start the season. So we may see that even out just a little bit over the coming game weeks. Okay, so moving on into the green tier and the defenders that we think we should be getting in this week. We'll start with Van Heck from Brighton. And I think this goes for sort of any Brighton defender at the same price point as Van Heck. You could even go to like someone like Estepinian in terms of the pick. I think the fixtures are there for Brighton. They've been rather unlucky over the last few game weeks to concede at the times that they have done, and they've got through majority of the games without conceding too many big chances, and the XG conceded is not too bad at all. So definitely would consider having one of them. Ryan Aït-Nouri, despite being a bit of a troll, has by far the best fixtures in the league going forward, and surely Wolves can only improve from this point forward. I'd probably argue that Aït-Nouri may be sort of closer to the yellow tier than the green tier just because of performances recently. But you can never discount fixtures when looking at FPL. Yeah, there's always a debate form and fixtures. I think fixtures, you have to consider him. A guy who's actually been on sort of quite a good bit of form recently is Kerkez, and the fixtures for Bournemouth are not too bad either. Maybe not as good as Bournemouth. So you're almost sort of weighing yourself up. I think personally it's between Kerkez or Aït-Nouri, one or the other. I think going with both is a little bit risky. So yeah, that's my thoughts there. Lewis Hall at the price point that he's at, with Newcastle sort of playing relatively decently in terms of underlying statistics, I think is a really decent option. And then yeah, moving on to the premiums, and Trent looks fantastic value going forwards for Liverpool's good fixture run and good turn of fixtures. I'd really consider bringing him in. Of course, later on the season, we're now going to have a double game week for Liverpool as well with that postponement. So, I'm definitely looking at a Trent, Salah, and someone else in a triple up for that game week for sure. And then, subject to obviously being fit, we'll find out a lot more news in midweek with Arsenal playing in the Champions League. Gabriel from Arsenal is my number one pick in terms of bringing someone in. Of course, if he's fit. If he's not, you could easily transfer that to Timber or Saliba, etc., because any of those Arsenal defensive options are going to be the best going forwards. Josh, any further notes on those defenders?
Yeah, I think just touching on Brighton as well. See, Tarek Lamptey, I think, has got 2 attack and returns in as many game weeks so far. He's an interesting one. I think I'd be cautious to bring him in, though, just because we all know his injury record. Like, you're bringing in someone, you're bringing in these defenders. You don't really want to use transfers on defenders. Obviously, the upsides with the attackers, especially with the lack of clean sheets at the moment. So, yeah, for me, I'd err on the side of caution if you're thinking about that. I'd go with a Van Heck or a Dunk or something like that, just because the minutes are going to be pretty stable. Lewis Hall, the only sort of con or negative you can maybe say is that he got taken off early at 83 minutes in their last game against Brentford to bring on Trippier. Obviously, if Trippier is loitering around the squad, I'd expect him probably to start. So it's whether if Livramento goes to left back or not. It's a little bit of a tricky one, but I wouldn't be worried about that in the immediate future. I think, only 7 minutes off the bench for Trippier is not going to, make him a starter by next weekend. So for me, I think Lewis Hall's good for the short term, but I'd probably be a little bit more worried longer term if you are going to go for him just because of that. And like you mentioned, obviously, Joe Gomez isn't on this list. He's in that Liverpool sort of category. He's 4.9 million. So if you can't really stretch to Van Dijk or Trent, he's a good budget enabler and obviously covering those Liverpool clean sheets. Similar can be said for obviously Timber at 5.6, I do believe. He's a little bit cheaper than the sort of Gabriel or Saliba. So, yeah, some nice options there for me and Ben. I think we can speak conclusively. Arsenal defence is definitely the place you want to go if you're trying to bring in a defender. If you can't reach that far, Liverpool. If you can't reach that far, then you might want to look between Hall, Kirkes and Aït-Nouri. Okay, then, so that wraps up our Defenders Ranked video. Let us know what your thoughts are on this sort of new concept to the channel. I know, obviously, I did it before on my own, but let us know what you think about me and Ben doing it as well. Obviously, we're going to try and bring as many videos to the channel as possible in the upcoming game weeks.
Yeah, and as always, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the FPL Graduates. I've been Ben.
I've been Josh.
And we'll see you guys
next game week. Have a good game week, everyone.
So you